Hey, Marvin, how are you?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Lovely to see you, Marvin. Appreciate you being here today with me. Over the next few minutes, it'll be good to talk about our partnership and what we've been able to do together. Been working together for just over 3 months now. Good opportunity for them to see what it's been like through a working partnership, but also in terms of the output. Great place to start would be an introduction to yourself and your awesome company, Marvin.
I am the CEO founder of a organization called Medzoomer. It is a last mile prescription delivery service. At a high level, think of your Uber Eats, think of your DoorDash, just hyper specialized for the pharmacy space as a whole. Everything from workflows down to the driver level to the diligence performed on the drivers, like the background checks and the drug screens. And then obviously the way we integrate into pharmacy management systems as well. Very specialized, just closing the loop on all compliance issues that would typically arise with standard courier solutions. So from the outside looking in, looks like DoorDash, looks like Uber Eats for pharmacies. You start peeling back a couple layers and it is sensitive to pharmacy workflows, bandwidth, and obviously their audit and compliance requirements.
Yeah. Thanks, Marvin. It's a phenomenal partnership, and it's one of the things that when we understanding actually the offer and what you're doing and what you're bringing to the market, definitely felt very confident and comfortable with your value propositions, what actually you are bringing to the market as we talk about results that coincides with the type of conversations you're having. Marvin, what would be useful to know is before our partnership, which we're in month 4 now, what was outbound? What was business development? What was that like? What were you doing?
So from an outbound perspective, 98% of our lead gen and lead flow came from cold calling teams. That was one way historically we felt like there was a pretty low barrier to entry. A lot of people do not know this, but pharmacies are required to answer the phones legally. So that's why we knew we would have really high conversion rates on the cold calling front. One piece that we were unable to crack, and one of the main reasons we shifted some of our OpEx over to you, was the email marketing component. It is very complex, as you know, getting through firewalls, getting through a lot of the safety and the procurement issues that typically arise on the way in for inbound traffic into pharmacies' inboxes. We historically tried doing it ourselves. We came up short. We had a lot of blacklisted domains along the way. And then the other piece is we have tried probably 2 to 3 vendors that did a combination of cold calling and email outreach, where we saw really good ROI on the cold calling front and not substantial metrics on their email marketing component. So we got recommended over to you by another client of yours who is also in the healthcare, health tech space. He spoke very highly, everything that happens behind the scenes. I noticed that myself personally in the 3 to 4 week ramp up period. You guys were very meticulous, taking your time, warming up those emails, those inboxes, those domains, really solidifying the strategy, the engagement, the hook. So that was one piece we struggled with historically. And since moving over to you, I can confidently say we've cracked the code in terms of email and inbound marketing to pharmacies.
Amazing. No, thanks, Marvin. Actually, speaking of the whole setup, we're deliverability experts. That's what we do. That's what we know inside and out, seeing that firsthand. But I think what would also be interesting to hear from your point of view is also, whilst we were getting all of that set up, we ran those 3 deep 1-hour workshops early on into the engagement. So whilst we're getting all this set up, we're not wasting any time. We're not saying, hey, just send us some info. We're getting on calls, getting to know the ins and outs of Medzoomer and what you're doing. Any sort of insight you could share from your personal experience on the onboarding, I think will be very helpful for people as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway that we noticed during that ramp up or that warm up period is that you guys chose to listen. We already knew what sells in this market. We knew where the gaps were within the pharmacy space. We know what they can and can't do. I just remember you guys always recording calls, which I thought was really special as well, because this way it wasn't my job to necessarily track you down, provide materials, provide follow-up engagement messaging. So you guys understood it at the end of the day. You're very meticulous in note taking as well as on the debrief every time. And I would say out of all of the messaging that you guys sent over for approval, there were minimal changes. Great. So that was something that also impressed me, is you understood exactly what we were trying to convey down to these stores. You weren't trying to reinvent the wheel for us on our side. We did have tremendous traction from a national footprint perspective. So we have market validation, not only regional, but from a national standpoint as well. All different types of pharmacies. We have validation as well, which you guys took very seriously, because the value prop for a small mom and pop pharmacy differs greatly to a medium-sized health system. And then again, will differ tremendously when we're talking about large payer organizations and what their benefits are, what they're looking for, what their weaknesses are, so that you guys took the time to not only understand how we sell this and have historically sold it, but how that differs depending on the type of customer that we're actively pursuing.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point, Marvin. I think in terms of the ongoing management and the relationship, I think sometimes when I'm speaking to people who are considering partnership with us, it's when we talk about it being done for you, a real strategic partnership where we actually take care of the whole process up until the point of call booking. What we do, I think, up to the point of infrastructure, doing strategic piece, getting the emails up, but even to the point of replies and getting the meetings booked. That whole piece, I know, because I can speak openly, we've had to correct the process and we've had to make sure that we tailor the process so that it works for you and your team. So sort of insights you'd like to share from that point of view?
Yeah, I think communication has been great outside of syncs that we have set up on a reoccurring basis. I think the ad hoc communication through Slack is tremendous for us. Our whole team is on Slack, so it was really a nice fit for us in terms of workflows internally, your ability to be flexible. I know we essentially started with one email workflow from your inbox over into ours, one calendar invite workflow, but you mentioned we did have the ability to make adjustments, to make changes. Some of the requests may have been outside of the norm, but you guys ultimately absorbed those requests and really found a best practice that works for both parties involved. So I think at this point, outside of the initial ramp up period where we were working really closely, I would honestly say another 1 to 2 weeks where we really dialed in the actual process and the invites and the calendars. And after that, there has been minimal adjustments and it's really been full speed ahead since.
Fantastic. That's great to hear, Marvin. Thank you. So I think now if we look at actually the results, so we've been doing campaigns for about 10 weeks. We've been averaging, looking at the data between three to 5 calls a week. It'd be really great to hear from your point of view, the quality and many other stats or data.
Absolutely. Start on the quality side, because that is one thing I will hang my hat on with you guys. You have done a tremendous job. Historically, when outsourcing a lot of this lead gen and marketing, we were left with a lot of unqualified calls. As you can imagine, that congests everybody's workflows from a day-to-day perspective. It's also a little bit demotivating for our sales team internally to constantly speak to individuals that should not be having a conversation with us. Maybe they're too early. The main qualification metric, just for everybody watching this, is going to be volume. So we expect a certain number of deliveries to be coming out of each site on a daily basis. That information is typically harder to extract, especially during the discovery phase of any lead gen process. But you guys have really knocked that out of the park. I would say each of the calls that you've given us, maybe outside of 1 or 2, have been qualified, not only from a volume perspective, but also from an appetite perspective. We have gotten a lot of calls with pharmacies that were not interested in outsourcing their delivery at all. And that is almost just as bad as a pharmacy that is not capable of giving us the required daily delivery volume. So people that are actually interested in outsourcing this workflow have the volume behind it. And what we've seen month over month, and the reason why we continued with you, is those metrics are improving in real time. So in month 1 compared to a month 2, we saw a drastic increase, not only in terms of the quality of the applicants that were coming through, but also the volume or the number of bookings that we saw on the calendars. Another aspect that I think is really neat, we're working through one of these, is the Guardian Pharmacy Network, for example. This is essentially a one-time pharmacy call that leads to a small partnership opportunity. So they have about 50 pharmacies within their network, which for us is great. That means we don't have to talk to 50 individual stores. The procurement, the sales cycle may be a little bit longer, but really that one lead is leading to 49 additional opportunities within their network. And what we love from an efficiency standpoint, obviously we need the revenue, we're VC backed. They constantly want to see that growth month over month, see those improvements. So fishing out the qualitative metrics and introducing us to these pharmacy opportunities that have more than just one location really has been a home run for us. Another neat metric that goes back to quality, but right now the ARR that we're seeing from a singular pharmacy on an annual perspective is going to be sitting right around $36,000. What we have noticed through your leads, one in particular, Gold Star, with the Gold Star Pharmacy Network, they're actually coming in at north of $250,000 annually. So you can really see that you guys are not only getting the right people on these calls, but actually exceeding expectations, where we would have been happy to maybe double that ARR or triple that ARR metric. We're absolutely blowing out of that park, looking at an 8 to 10x opportunity just off one single lead that you guys have put on our calendars.
Amazing. I highly appreciate digging into some of those numbers in preparation for this call. Very, very important for us. There's too many companies out there talking about, we'll give you hundreds of this every day or weekly, we'll do all this, but it's actually quality over quantity. And once you get quality, and we're actually in a beautiful phase of our partnership now where, because we've got those good quality meetings, we're now starting to run other types of workflows. We've got lookalike audiences. We've recently launched enterprise reach for yourselves as well. There's a lot of exciting things. And I always say in this space, we're only getting started, and the more data, the more feedback. But I also want to also highlight that the success has only happened because of how great you and your team have been in terms of sharing info, getting info over to us. We've had the opportunity to, do a lot of direct outreach, but we've also, as part of our value proposition, been able to get involved with any of your old leads that needed re-engagement with other partnerships that you had. It really is a two-way thing. We can execute. We come with ideas to the table. You've got your team from Astris who are working in the background and generating these opportunities, but it's also from your end that you're putting time and investing into our partnership to make it a success. Fantastic. So thank you, Marvin, on behalf of everyone on Astris. I think that's brilliant. So I think maybe just the last question is, if someone is considering working with us, if someone is considering working with Astris, words you'd like to say to them?
Yeah, I would say the first 2 to 3 weeks are probably going to be the most critical in terms of engaging the success of your guys' company. So as long as they're willing to really not only put into work, but to help you guys a little bit as well in terms of some previous leads, previous dialogue, conversations, materials, I think that is really going to be critical in terms of that ramp up period. And the other piece is we were willing to try new things, where historically every single previous outsourced vendor was willing to use our domains, our emails, our old standardized workflows. You guys said no to that. I necessarily did not believe you guys were going to have that much success with your own campaigns and workflows internally, but I let go of the reins essentially and let you guys do what you do best. And that's your expertise in email and inbound outreach, especially into the healthcare space. So I think letting down your guard a little bit just because something's worked in the past doesn't necessarily mean that there's not a better solution or option out there for future use cases. And that's really what stood out to me as well, is we were willing to try new things, and we definitely have the ROI now to prove that it was the right decision to really trust your guidance, your workflows, your expertise in the space, and really just data dump you as much as possible. So you guys are familiar with the service, the company, the engagement. And then therefore we marry those two. We essentially give you the data. We try to feed as much as possible into your system, into your minds. And then you guys will run with that data and really perfect the outreach strategy through your own internal use cases and workflows that I've really been impressed by.
Marvin, thank you. It's a fantastic partnership. It's a partnership that we're looking forward to and already see it as being a long-term one. And we're privileged to be able to stand by Medzoomer's side to see you guys grow and help you. I'm sure as you will continue to expand, who knows, maybe even outside of pharmacies, and there's other verticals you want to try, we're there as your growth partners to help you all the way through and throughout. So thank you for the partnership. Thank you for your time today. And thank you for the honest conversation we've had today. Really appreciate it.
You got it, Kevin. Thank you so much. Look forward to the next level of engagement here. I'm obviously continuing the relationship. And if there's anybody out there listening to this, we actually did increase our spend with Kevin and his company here. So in terms of positive signaling from a customer standpoint, the best thing to do is to get them re-signed, but then actually to have them increase as well from a monthly spend standpoint. So hats off to you guys. Really appreciate it. Look forward to the continued success.